Hey everybody, and welcome back to Nerd Stuff and Things. Today, real quick, before we get into our video, I want to thank everybody who watched our first episode in our Fictional Weapons Explained series. Thank you for watching, thank you for the interaction, and thank you for the suggestions for more videos. In fact, that is the reason why I made this video, and I'm going to make the next few videos. I want to throw the comments over here. Thank you guys so much. It means the world to me, truly. Now, with that, let's get into it. In the blue corner, we have the Sword of Power. It is the iconic gray blade that defined the 1980s. It's the key to Castle Grayskull and the source of the most powerful man in the universe. On the other side, in the gold corner, we have the Sword of Protection. To the casual observer, it looks like a clone of He-Man's sword with a jewel stuck in it. But if you actually dig into the lore, and we always dig into the lore here, you find out that the younger sister's weapon might actually be the superior piece of technology. Let's start with the original, the Sword of Power. Now, if you only watch the 80s cartoon, you know the drill. Prince Adam holds it up, says the magical words, lightning strikes, and he becomes He-Man, the defender of Eternia. But the history of this sword is actually way more complicated and weirdly bureaucratic. According to the original 1981 mini comics, this is before the cartoon even existed, the sword wasn't a transformation device at all. In fact, there was no Prince Adam. He-Man was just a barbarian who beat people up. In this version, the Power Sword was actually an ancient artifact that had been split in two halves. Skeletor had one half, and He-Man had the other. The gimmick here being that if you combine the two halves, you didn't get muscles, you got a key. The combined sword was the only thing that could open the jaw bridge of Castle Grayskull. This is why the original action figures came with swords that looked like they were sliced down the middle. It wasn't just a manufacturing defect, it was a plot point. It wasn't until the cartoon aired in 1983 that the sword became a conduit for mystical energy. In the show's lore, the sword is indestructible. It can deflect magical blasts, cut through any material in the universe, and crucially acts as a lightning rod to channel the energy of the elders. But there is a funny nerd fact about the weapon's actual usage. If you watch closely, He-Man never uses the sword as a sword. He cuts cages, he cuts doors, he deflects lasers, but because of the 1980s broadcast standards and practices, he was forbidden from ever striking a living creature with the blade. He could throw a goblin into a mud puddle, but he couldn't stab him. So essentially, he's carrying around the universe's sharpest laser deflector. Now, let's look at the challenger. In the gold corner, the Sword of Protection. The weapon made its debut in the 1985 movie The Secret of the Sword. In the lore, the Sorceress of Grayskull cloned He-Man's sword to create a weapon for his twin sister, Adora. But this isn't just a copy-paste job. The Sorceress added a critical upgrade, the Stone of Protection. That's the jewel embedded in the hilt. While He-Man's sword is a raw conduit, like plugging a toaster directly into a power line, She-Ra's sword is more like a smartphone. It has apps. The Sword of Protection has the ability of weapon transmutation, and this is a game changer. By communicating with the stone in the hilt, She-Ra can command the sword to turn into almost anything she needs. Here's a list of the things the sword has turned into in the show: a shield, a boomerang, a parachute, yes, really, a rope, a space helmet, a net. Think about the logistics here. He-Man has to carry a sword, a shield, and an axe on his back if he wants a full loadout. She-Ra just carries the one hilt, and it becomes whatever the situation demands. It's basically Green Lantern technology, but in the shape of a broadsword. Furthermore, because Adora was stranded on the planet Etheria, which is a dimension called Despondos, her sword had to be stronger in terms of signal range. He-Man is usually on Eternia, right next door to the source of his power. She-Ra is in a completely different dimension, yet her sword can still pull the power of Grayskull across the multiverse barriers. That implies the Sword of Protection has a much more sophisticated receiver than the Sword of Power. So, are there any downsides? For He-Man, the weakness is physical. If he drops a sword, or if he is knocked out, or if it's knocked out of his hand for too long, he can revert back to Prince Adam. We see this happening constantly. The sword is an external battery. Without it, he's just a guy in a pink vest. She-Ra has a different vulnerability. Because her powers are filtered through the Stone of Protection, the gemstone is a weak point. If the stone is damaged or cracked, her ability to channel the power creates a feedback loop or fails entirely. She is reliant on that specific component remaining intact. Also, in the recent Netflix reboot, She-Ra and the Princess of Power, they took this a step further. The sword is actually a piece of the first one's technology that acts as a control key for the planet. Adora eventually has to shatter the sword to stop it from destroying the world. It proves that while the sword is powerful, it is also dangerous to the user and the planet itself if misused.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Is your closet full of dorky clothes? Are your shirts looking kinda lame? Don't have a cow, because it's time to power up your style. Nerd Stuff and Things merch is here to make you look totally rad. Check out the gear! These shirts are so soft, it's like wearing a cloud on a Saturday morning cartoon marathon. And the designs? They cover all your favorite fandoms, from retro games to anime history. Stop loafing! Supplies are totally limited and selling faster than a speed run. You gotta have this gear before the window closes. Don't miss out on being the coolest nerd on the block. Click the link below and get your Nerd Stuff and Things merch right now!
So, which one do you take into battle? If you are fighting a tank and you need to slice it in half, the Sword of Power, it is the raw, indestructible, nuclear option. It is simple, unbreakable, and it opens the biggest castle in the galaxy. However, if you're going on an adventure, the Sword of Protection, the ability to turn your weapon into a shield, a rope, or a helmet makes it the superior piece of technology. It is the pro model to He-Man's base model. The addition of its shape-shifting ability essentially makes She-Ra a one-woman army. She doesn't need to carry gear, she is the gear. Plus, she channels the same power from completely different dimensions. I hope you enjoyed this video on the lore, and I want to hear you guys in the comments. Do you prefer the classic indestructible blade, or do you like the magical Swiss Army knife vibe of She-Ra's sword? And hey, if you dug this deep dive, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe. You know the whole deal. We are growing the Nerd Stuff and Things community every single week. I'm also going to have some new designs up in the Ko-Fi shop for December. Should be out in the next few days. So check the link in the description if you want to support the channel directly. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.